Hello. As the Dean and Rector of the Berlin campus, it is my immense pleasure and honor to welcome the French Ambassador of France in Germany, Madame Ambassador Descôtes, for our second edition of our French-German Leadership Discourse series, led by my colleague, Professor Meissner, Professor of Strategy, and also the Director of the European Center of Digital Competitiveness. Through this leadership discourse series, we want to emphasize leadership. Leadership of France and Germany throughout the years within the European community, now revived by the COVID-19 crisis and the ensuing economic recession, but also emphasize thought leadership through core values such as democracy, freedom, and human rights. As the first business school established in France and now rooted in Europe, and namely in Germany, we are proud to contribute to the development of tomorrow's leaders, and we hope that we will carry on these values forth. I have no doubt that today's event will contribute to this noble goal. With no further ado, I'll leave the floor to our esteemed guest speaker, Ambassador Descôtes and Philip Meissner. Thank you.
Welcome also from my side to the second edition of the French-German Leadership Discourse. I'm very happy to welcome Ambassador Descôtes to ESCP today, who is the Ambassador of the French Republic to Germany. And we're here to talk about the topic leadership in business and beyond, and also to answer all of your questions very soon. So you can already start putting them in the chat, and we will get to them very soon. Ambassador Descôtes has had a very international career with positions in Brussels, Washington, and also in Germany, and we are very happy to welcome her here in Berlin today. Frau Botschafterin, herzlich willkommen an der ESCP.
Ich danke Ihnen.
Sie sprechen fließend Deutsch, but given our international audience, we agreed to have this conversation in English.
With pleasure.
So you have a deep relationship with Germany. You, I believe, when you were 12, had a school exchange with Germany. You studied in Germany. And also when the Berlin Wall came down, you were in Germany. So how has this deep connection to Germany and also the experience of living in France and Germany shaped you?
First of all, thank you for your invitation and for giving me the opportunity to speak about my Franco-German story, so to say. As you said, I started with German as my first foreign language at secondary school. And my parents thought it would be maybe easier for me if I go every summer 2 or 3 weeks to Germany. And that's what I did. And of course, it was a very, very important for me. And then after that, I was quite good in German. And after secondary school, when I started to study, I was better in human science than in mathematics. So I started with literature and German literature and German language. And I was then studied for 6 or 7 years. And I spent 1 year in Hamburg at the Hamburg University. I also spent 1 year and a half in Berlin studying history of art, actually. And then I had to go back to France because I was supposed to become a teacher, and I was already a civil servant. And but I had good relations with Germany, and that's how I heard from opportunities to work in Germany. Even as a German teacher, it was possible to be appointed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the cultural department of the embassy, and our embassy was at that time at the end of the 80s in Bonn. And I had this opportunity in 1987 to work as attaché culturel, as we say, and I was in charge of relations between French and German universities. And 1989 was the Mauerfall. It's a very, very huge event, of course, and the end of the Cold War, and it was an enormous opportunity, a chance for me to be there at that time and to see what was happening. And then I decided that I would like to continue working in embassies, but not only in the Department for Cultural Relationship, but to do diplomacy in a right way, so to say.
And so, what prompted you to become a diplomat? Was it your studies? Was it an experience that you had?
Yeah, I think this event was of major importance to bring me to make this decision. And then when I decided, I knew I had to get new skills, you know, and so that's why I went to Paris, and I went to École Nationale d'Administration, and then after 2 years I had the opportunity to go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which was what I wanted, and so I was very happy. And from the beginning I started dealing with European affairs, so it was not Germany only, but European affairs. But you know, once you are in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you immediately get to the sense of the importance of the Franco-German relationship, and it's a tradition. As soon as you are in a position, no matter what position, you have to be in contact with your German counterpart.
Yes.
So that's what I did, and of course in Brussels, because I went very often to Brussels. And so, as I said, even if it was not Franco-German, even in Europe, you always have contacts with the German colleagues, and compare your instructions and positions, and inform each other. That's a sort of a reflex, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, the topic of our today's conversation is leadership. You talked about the Franco-German relationship, but you also got to know leaders from around the world, from political spheres, but also from business areas. Do you think that there are some distinct characteristics that makes a political leader different from executives in businesses or in other areas of society?
Yes, probably. They probably have a lot in common. The sense of leadership and the will and determination to be a leader. That is something you have to want. But I think the big difference is that when you are in a political position, you have to be elected. So you have to make a campaign, and you have to explain. It's not exactly the same in a business. Of course, if you apply for a job as a CEO, you probably have to be convincing, but it's not exactly the same. You are not dealing with voters and with people on the street, you know. And then you have to have a sense and the will to serve your country in good and bad things, you know, and be able to not to consider your own interests, but interest of all your people. And in business, you have other objectives. You have to be sure your business is good and you are working in the right direction and make money, or you know, or expand the job, and so it's a little bit different. And I often heard CEOs in my career as a diplomat saying, oh, you know, would like to be a diplomat, because, you know, when you're a CEO, I don't know, at Alstom or Siemens, you know, you are you are sailing trains, you know. Okay, you are proud of sailing trains, but you're always sailing trains, you know, sailing trains. Okay, but in diplomacy, you can you can be posted all around the world, and it's so exciting, so interesting, and so different. So the diversity of the issues you are dealing with is bigger. But I think as a person, of course, you have probably common skills to get, or qualities, or
Talking about diversity of issues, yes. You're also very engaged on the topic of equality. Why do you think that there are still comparatively few women political leaders?
I think that's a pity. I think that's a very, very important issue, and in many countries the things are getting a little bit better. I think anyway in Europe, and I'm looking at what happens in France and Germany, and I think this is something that is moving forward, but maybe not as quick as it should be. I think it's very important, and you hear from either from leaders in the administrations or CEOs that they all observe that in teams where you have as many women as men, they are more productive. There is something that is going better, functioning better. So why don't we do that? And in France, we've been implementing since almost 10 years new laws enabling or saying that ministries have to reach at least 40% women in leading positions. And at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, for example, it's something minister wants to do, wants to reach, but it's quite difficult. He has a great determination, but we are still at around 30%, which is not exactly the goal we want to reach.
So that's in government, where you talk about quotas. Is there anything else that you see to improve this, particularly also in the maybe elected politicians?
Oh, yes, of course. So I think it's important to have these quotas, but then you have to implement really, and you have to create the conditions for women to be in a position to get the information, to be self-aware and feeling that they have support, yes, not only from other women but from men, and that they are as good as men, and allow them to network, because that's very important, I think. And then it's important also to have this obligation for the political parties to respect certain quotas. We did that in France, and I think there is some improvement. During the last elections in 2017, we reached 39% of women in the Assemblée Nationale and the Parliament, which is 12% more than 5 years before. Yes. And then we have also a law for boards of big companies. And it takes time, but I think it's important to be aware of the importance of these goals, and as I said, make everybody from the beginning at school aware that this is something that is important. Yes. And this is an issue it is very important for me, and I always very often participate in discussions about this issue, to compare what we do in France, what we do in Germany, and what is better, what can we learn from one another, and also in my embassy, because we are a sort of we have a pilot project to fight sexual harassment, and so we are doing that very intensively with our teams in the embassy, where I have about 250 people, and also in our consulate general. And that is something that is very appreciated.
Yeah, very important topic, definitely.
Yes.
Before we continue, let me just quickly address our audience again and remind you very quickly that very soon we will talk about your questions and answer all of them. So use the couple of minutes that we still have to ask all your questions in the chat so that we can answer them in a second. So we were talking about political leaders. Emmanuel Macron definitely is a very prominent political leader, and I think he has achieved something quite remarkable. He has been elected, with back then a party that was not very well established. So how do you explain this success?
I think we have to consider the political situation in France in 2016, 2017, when he presented his when he started to campaign, and I think there was sometimes people say he is the one to make everything change in the political landscape. There was already, I think, a sort of fragmentation. And what he did is he was able to understand it, to analyze, to anticipate what was coming up, and seize the opportunity, and realize that there was an enormous lack of trust in political system, in political parties, and that something had to change, and he was the one to come and make proposals. And I think he was very convinced that of course, when you want to be a president, you have to be confident in your country. But he was, I think, he was struck by the fact that French people are always very negative on themselves, and so he wanted people to be more confident in themselves and in the country, and try to make them hopeful again, and believe in what they can achieve, and open opportunities, and feel self-confident. And as a very young politician, very new in the political landscape, he was able to incarnate, to embody this new idea, that something new could be possible and could happen. He immediately got the support. Of course, he had been the Minister of Economy and Industry, and so he was known from the CEOs, and he got the support from them, and I think he opened new perspective, and that is something that was very much needed at that time.
Yeah. And he has also been successful in many areas, for example, technology and digital policies. Here at ESCP, we have the Center for Digital Competitiveness, and last year we published a study in which France was actually the #1 digital writer in the group of 7 countries. So is there any region or any country that France looks for or looks to for inspiration when it comes to designing these technological and digital policies?
Yeah, certainly. I think in Europe there is one small country that is an example for all of us since many years. It's Estonia, and I remember being on a state trip with President Chirac, 2001. In Estonia, and already at that time they were able to show us what is the e-government. They were already, okay, it's a small country, small government, but anyway, it was quite good 20 years ago. And it was very inspiring. And then, of course, Emmanuel Macron was often in the United States and in the Silicon Valley, and looking at what is happening there with the engineers. There are a lot of very good European engineers from France and Germany, and the idea is, why don't they stay in France and Germany, in Europe, and how could we convince them to come back or do the same in France, and create the conditions for them to say, okay, we come back because we have good conditions to work and do something new for our country. That I think that's what is basically what he wanted to push, and what he did with the French Tech initiative. Yes. That is a sort of a label. Yes. That is now known, and I think he created good conditions for entrepreneurs or young people who wanted to create startups or to start something, to feel that they get support, and it's possible in, for example, the Station F, which is a huge incubator in Paris, attracting a lot of people from all around the world, and we want to, of course, Europeans to be there, and making Europe strong in that field too. Yeah.
I fully agree with you. I wish we had something similar in Germany sometimes. I'm really
but there are a lot of incubators also in Berlin, in Munich.
But the French Tech Initiative, I think, is really, really broad, and they do a lot of things. Some of them you mentioned, and I think this is really a very, very good initiative in my view. So something completely different that is not related to technology anymore, but I mean, we are at ESCP here, a business school, and typically our graduates, when they finish university, they start at a consulting company or a venture capital firm, or maybe in entrepreneurship, hopefully sometimes, La French Tech. But what could be done maybe to inspire them also for public service, to start their career in public service?
I mean, why not? I think that's a little bit different, but why not? As an ambassador, I'm not a political appointee, so it's something that is different from one country to another. But that's a big difference between us and Germany and United States, for example. As I said at the beginning about your question, being a leader, or a CEO, or in a more political position or official position, you don't have exactly the same goals. But I think, and we think, and that's the idea now of President Macron, who is trying to push a new reform of the administration, a reform of the École nationale d'administration, but also the way we should shape the careers of in leading position for civil servants. And the idea is that it should not be like a silo. You're a diplomat, and then you become an ambassador, or you are préfet, which is something a very French function that is created by Napoleon. The préfet is the representative of the whole government in the département. It's like Landkreis in Germany. But of course, you have other leading position in the administration. The idea is to have more possibilities of going from one position to another, and also from the private sector to the public sector, and from the public sector to the private sector. So, assuming that it's something that is a sort of cross-fertilization, and so I think that's a very good idea. It is already possible, but the idea of President Macron is to do it more systematically, to have a better understanding of actors from the public and the private sector, understanding the point of views, understanding the challenges, and then at the end assuming that then, because now we are facing huge challenges, social challenges or economic challenges or challenges with the climate that need a sort of global response.
Yes.
Not only global around the world, but also at national level. You have sort of you need to have all actors put together, and that is certainly important to have people who know the public sector as well as the private sector. So that's the idea, actually.
Okay. And is there any advice you could give to our students watching who might want to start in a government role or maybe go into politics?
Yeah, they should do it. Just do it and just try it, and maybe starting with the how do you say, practicum?
Internship.
Yeah, internship, or just to see if this is what they like to do. And of course, diplomacy is something different, like being in a Ministry of Agriculture or Economy, and everything. I think everything can be very interesting.
Yeah.
You just have to look at it, be curious, and open your mind, open your eyes, and I think everything you can take and learn is useful. You cannot know, when I was 25, I thought, oh, why did I study German 7 years? I know why I started, because at that time I thought I would be a professor at university, But then I understand it's not what I want to do. I did not know exactly what I wanted to do, because I had no idea of diplomacy, and I did not know anybody in my family or in my friends who had done that. So I had absolutely no representation, no idea. So that's something that you discover, And so that's why I say you have to be open and never think that you are losing time. I mean, you never lose time if you do something. Sometimes you don't lose. You need also not to do anything but I mean, you never lose time. If you learn something, then maybe 10 years, 20 years, 30 years after, oh wow, that was a good idea. You discover it and you feel it later. So I think you just be open and learn and experience the most you can, and then things will become clear.
Yeah. So you connect the dots looking backwards, not necessarily forwards.
No, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. Mm.
So Just Do It is probably a very good transition to the questions from our audience. Yeah? So I'm really looking forward to their questions. Let's see what these questions are. So, the first one is, what is the most exciting aspect of your job? What do you find most challenging?
I love my job and all aspects of my job. And I think what is exciting is that as an ambassador, I can deal with all possible issues, and I think I should. You cannot just concentrate on political or diplomatic issues, or you have to everything is politics at the end. But I mean, there are so many aspects that are contributing to a good relationship between our countries, but because that's the objective, make it happen. And sometimes one could think, okay, France and Germany, they've been friends for 17 years now, and it's easy. Why do we need ambassadors? Of course we need ambassadors, because France and Germany are very, very different countries, And we exchange views on all issues, really. And I don't know any important issue where we had the same views from the beginning, because we are different. And so the interesting is that we converge and we make compromise, So my job is to be sure that is possible, that will happen, and there will be no misunderstanding. So prevent misunderstanding, so knowing the society, what people think, how they tick, and what is important for them. Sometimes there is, you see, an irritation, or you hear from Paris, okay, or from Berlin, why do they do that? Why do that? Okay, then you start from the beginning, you explain, and that is our job. And I think this is important in all issues, in the pandemic, but also in speaking about organizing an exhibition between artists, or everything that can make us work together and make people knowing each other better is part of my job.
Yeah, so it's exciting and challenging at the same time, maybe.
Exactly, exactly, yeah, exactly.
And here's another question maybe from a student, because it is, if you look back at your time at university, what was the most important thing you learned during the time that you need today?
Oh. German, German language, and but so many things. It depends on the situation or on the issue I'm dealing with. But of course, today I had lunch with people from the culture, writers and journalists writing about culture, and a professor at university, and I think of course, the fact that I know a little bit German literature, and that I read German, and that is certainly helping me. But at the same time, they help me understand what is happening now in Germany, and and this is of course, as you said, relating dots with things that maybe I have experienced in Washington, or in Japan when I was in mission in Japan, or whatever. So.
Okay. Another question on leadership. What do you think makes a good leader? And are there any changes when you compare good leaders today compared to maybe 10 years ago?
Leaders in private sector or in the public sector? Because I think this is quite different.
Yeah.
The common difference for them, be it in the public or in the private sector, is probably the fact that we have now a very, very quick information, a lot of information, quick access to information, and you have sometimes the impression everybody knows about everything, and you cannot hide anything. And for politicians, maybe also for CEO, you have to react, to comment all the time very quickly. So that's something that is different. When I remember the time of Helmut Kohl and François Mitterrand, and even the way we used to work at that time, we were not writing SMS or WhatsApp or on the phone all the time, but we took more time to reflect on what we are writing. So that's, I think, a big difference. But I think political leaders have to have convictions and strong values. I think this is what is really important, and a strong conviction and belief in democracy, and what makes democracy strong, because this is one of the big challenges we have today. And for CEOs, I think times are changing too, because also the business is in the focus of the social media, and everything what is dealing with countries where people are treated in an unfair way, or where children have to work in factories, or or making business with undemocratic countries is a problem. So this is something CEOs have to moral and ethic questions seem to come up more and more, and this is certainly a new kind of challenges for CEOs.
And some people also argue that CEOs should become more political, in fact. Yeah?
Yes, certainly. Yeah, certainly.
So another question from the chat is, who was your role model when you started your career, and why, if you had a role model?
Oh. I think it changes, because as I said at the beginning, I wanted to be a German teacher, and I was certainly inspired from the German teacher I had at school, and then being a teacher at university, a professor at university, I had also models in university, be it in Germany or in France, and then along my career certainly looked at women in leading positions, and women like maybe Simone Weil, who was the first, who had a very important role in France as a minister for women rights. She was really very courageous, and she was the first woman president of the European Parliament. That is also a very important dimension. So yeah, I could quote quite a lot of a person who inspired me.
Another question is, how would you describe your personal leadership style? You said there are more than 200 people in the embassy alone.
I can speak of what I hope to be. I'm not sure if it's the reality. I hope to be inclusive and be able to listen to people, and certainly try to either to imitate some people I worked with, or make a difference when you have to observe what is going on, and what you what you experience yourself, and then see what you like, what you don't like, what you think is right or not. But things are changing, and I think the way this embassy is now working has nothing to do with what I experienced 30 years ago when I was in Bonn, and the position and the way we were looking at the ambassador, who was of course a man, and there were a lot of men in the. That was so different. The idea of the respect of the relationship. I think people are just different now, and the way you interact is quite different, and that's good. I mean, world is changing, and people have also a different understanding of their position and their job, and and they are looking for more balance between private life and what they do at the embassy. I think 30 years ago, nobody would have said anything about private life, and would have it was different. The understanding was different, and I think you were expected to work a lot, and private challenges were just private challenges, so you had to cope with them, and nobody wanted to hear about that. Now it's quite different, and I think it's better, and it's important to have a better team spirit, that's important to try to create a sort of a team spirit in the when you have a big team, and then when you have a network of, I mentioned the consulate, we have 6 consulate generals, we have also 11 Instituts Français, you have to also to be on the ground and see people and see what they do and tell them that they are great and they are doing a good job, and encourage them, helping them, support them, and it is not just words. I mean, it's very important what they do, and I need them to accomplish my mission, and I think they need me to have my support. So there's something that is sort of common understanding of what is needed for both parts.
Absolutely. There are also some broader questions, more geopolitical. So one of them is, Europe is facing challenging geopolitical challenges. What kind of leadership will it take for European leaders to be successful in the future, in your opinion?
Yeah, being open, inclusive, and try to... I think, in general, Europe must be more self-confident and maybe stop working on things that are dividing us, and trying to find the common denominators, because we need to be strong together, and that's important. We are facing enormous challenges, and I think one of the biggest challenges is not to be squeezed between or in a sort of competition, and I hope it will not be a war, but a competition between China and the United States. And I think Europe is not in a position to think it's equidistance. No, I think we are definitely closer to United States, because we have a long story, and the transatlantic partnership is something that is very, very strong. But we have to be clear on our interests as Europeans, and then make sure we have the tools, the right tools to defend them, and make Europe strong, and having its own voice. I think this is very, very important. So I hope that the leaders in the coming years will be understanding this, and working in the same direction, instead of being defending the own nationalist interest or views, because I think we all need Europe, and we cannot achieve anything without the partners in the European Union.
In the news, we hear a lot about the issues that seem to divide us. Where do you see issues that could actually be the common denominators for us to grow together?
I think we have huge things that have been achieved, like the internal market.
Yes.
That is something that is enormous, and I think this is something we tend to forget sometimes, and I think what makes us strong versus the rest of the world is this internal market. But our strength is not only an economical one; it's an economic one. It's also our diversity, our history, that is made of very dark chapters, but I think we made it to overcome, and we should not forget them, but that should make us strong. And I think we should listen to other countries in other continents who are admiring Europe. I think European Union is maybe the most beautiful political utopia of the 20th century, and it should remain, you know, and it's a big part of the utopia has been implemented, and this is fantastic.
Yes.
This is fantastic, because I think this is something that is very, very ambitious. And of course, it could be better, it could function better, but I think what we have achieved is enormous, and we should be aware of that. And also that, you know, it's like a Franco-German friendship. It's not given forever. You have to work on it every day, because it's a challenge. And I think we should not be dispirited about our differences. It makes us strong, and I think it makes us able to deal with complexity.
Yeah, yeah.
That is something that is, you know, we are always dealing with Estonians, Czech, Bulgarians, Netherlands, French, Spanish. We are all different, and working together is a challenge of every day, but we make it.
Yeah.
And this is something that is fantastic, and I think nobody has this kind of challenge in China or in the United States, and I think this is something that should bring us together rather than divide us.
Yeah. Another question from the chat: do you think that there's a special role and contribution that companies and business leaders can make to bridge divisions between nations?
Oh yes, definitely. And I can observe that, of course, in the Franco-German relationship. And I think it's very important when leaders decide to work together, even when they know it's not the easiest way, or, you know, because it's the same for business leaders. They also experience the differences between France and Germany. But at a certain point, if you decide to make it, it's what happened with Airbus, you know. It was difficult, but there was the political decision to make it. And it was a great idea. And it's the same when, I don't know, when Peugeot wants to take over Opel, you know. Okay, it's difficult because it's French and German culture, but at the end, in 2 years, they have overcome the difficulties, and now it's working very good. And you have to have leaders who say, I want to work with Germany, or German CEOs want to do it with France. And even if it's difficult, we know we need that to make our countries and Europe stronger, rather than going where it's easier, but having these long-term views, I think, and that's, I think, very important. So it needs political views and the conviction that this is important, not only for the business, but for the country.
And going back to the diplomacy, some say that diplomacy is only needed when there is a conflict, not when values and goals are aligned. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I don't see so many situations where something is given forever. And diplomacy is also working on long term, knowing the history of the countries, knowing where we come from, and also having the capacity of dealing with these kind of challenges in a certain way, because diplomacy, it's not just, okay, let's sit together and have a, you know, it's not so easy. And sometimes people may not understand why it's so formal. Why do you sit here and not on the sofa? Or why do you sit on the right and me on the left? And why does it take time? And why do we have to meet maybe 3 times before getting to the issue? And all this is very important. And I think because at the end, diplomacy is the conviction that it's better to have peace than war, and you have to work on it and keep the dialogue, keep the contact. And I think, you need special skills and know this all these protocol and these formal procedures. I think they have their utility, their sense. And of course, in Europe, we are used to work together, and it's like a family, and we know each other. It's less formal. But with other countries, it's very important, and we should not forget that.
Yeah. And talking about skills, if you were to name one particular lesson or skill that took you the most time to learn, either professionally or personally, what would that be?
Patience.
Patience. Okay, short answer.
This is something I try to learn even now, even at the end of my career, Be patient with people, with collaborators, with things, in general. And
do you have any advice or techniques on that, and how to?
No. I'm asking you if you have some advice for me.
Okay. And then maybe the last question, a very broad question. Yes. If you were to imagine Europe, the European Union, the state of Europe in 5 years, and if you could somehow wish how you would like it to look like, what would this picture be?
Yeah, it's a good question. Our leaders launched in Strasbourg on Sunday. It was the 9th of May. It was the Day of Europe. And they launched the conference on the future of Europe. And we don't know yet if it will lead us to a new treaty. That's not the main point. But the idea is that people are speaking about Europe and expressing their wish. So we hope that not only experts of Europe, but a large number of citizens will participate in this discussion, and I hope they will have a lot of good ideas. And as I said before, I hope we will be able to come even closer together, even France and Germany. I think we still have to work on it, and there will be a new government here, new government in France. So, as I said, it's a story that you have to write day for day, and I think a lot can come from the ground, from the cities, from the regions, not only from the governments. And I hope that it will be the case even after we have now Madame Merkel, Monsieur Macron. They understand each other very well. There is a huge confidence. Okay, there will be a new leader first on German side, and it's very important that they can understand each other. But it could be less easy than now. Nobody knows. So that's why it's important that at the level of the regions, of the cities, of the civil society, of the CEOs, the contacts and the work goes on. And I think this is something that I hope that we will be able, even through this conference on the future of Europe, organizing conferences not with cross-border conferences, and I think this is important. And what I would really like to see is for the next parliamentarian elections at European level, that we have for the first time cross lists, not only list for France, for Germany, but a mix of people, having the Greens from Estonia, Germany, France, and then having the PPE or the Right Party or the Socialists or Social Democrats from different countries, and so to create this sense of belonging to a community, and of course respecting the principle of subsidiarity. Not everything has to be decided at the level of Brussels, but people should understand, what it means being in a community, and not only through Erasmus, but really in day life, and dealing with issues that are important for people in Bretagne or in Bayern or in Mazovia, mobility, immigration, school, digitalization. There are questions that are important for people in their everyday life.
Absolutely. And, so lots of things to do.
Yeah, I think so.
And thank you for being here today and for giving us all these insights. I mean, we touched so many different areas, really leadership and beyond. Yeah, not only leadership, we talked about diplomacy, we talked about geopolitics, we talked about career advice, we talked about patience and how to achieve that. Yeah. So thank you very much for these fascinating insights. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for your invitation. Thank you.
And to the audience, thank you very much for participating in our second edition of the French-German Leadership Discourse. And the last thing that I would like to do is invite you to the next edition, which will already be in June, on June 10th, and we will send out an invitation to you very shortly. So thank you very much for being part of this today, and have a nice evening.